Yeah, dancing in heaven. We're doing a little dancing tonight. That's what's going on here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And welcome to another exciting edition of the Ask Rabbi Rabbs show. Woo-hoo! I'm your host for tonight. My name is Rabbi Rabbs, and I'm broadcasting to you live from the House of Rabbs. A really big show. It's going to take a lot of time. I always say that. Okay. Why is the guy dancing? What's going on? Well, we'll get to that a little later in the show. But first, I want to say, once again, I'm Rabbi Rabbs. I am America's first and favorite rabbi comedian. I am the first from religious Jew to dress Jewy on stage in major Goyish clubs. That's me. That's who you're looking at. And welcome to my YouTube channel. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. And by the way, I finally fixed this YouTube channel. This week I just said, fuck it. And I opened a brand new Google Plus account and I linked it to my YouTube. And now I can finally reply to comments that you left on my YouTube page. And I went back, and I don't want to go back for like years, but I went back for like the last year and I responded to many of you who left comments in the last year. Okay, so I finally have that under control, hopefully. Now, before we get moving, I want to just give some shout-outs to the chat room. We got a few people in here already. So first of all, big welcome back to Chaf Hayam, Kaf HaChaim. All right, this is the second week in a row. Gypsy Rose Hana is in the room again, so big welcome to her. Malachi, the pillar of the chat room. Malachi's in there, and thanks for the, he gave us a sound test tonight. Sylvia Cool, making a long overdue return. Give it up for Sylvia Cool. All right, great to see you in here. And somebody else is here, so there's 5 people. Somebody else who's called Ustreamer. You gotta do something. I don't know how the hell you get out of that loop. And then there's people who are watching live who Ustream doesn't tell me about because they're watching on cell phones or something. So I get an email the next day and they say, oh yeah, I watched it. It was great. And I'm like, did you watch the video or did you watch it live? And they tell me I watched it live. And I had no idea. Rosalie's in the room. So big welcome to Rosalie. All right, we're filling up. We already got 6 people in here. All right, looking good. Let's get the show going. All right, so that's what's happening. Great to have you all here. Wait, I should take off my glasses. All right, so that's what's happening. Everybody can see me? Everybody can hear me? All right. Where do we start? Last week, I told my story of my comedy career. And I mentioned in it that I was filmed. I got to do this right off the top before I forget. I mentioned in it that I was filmed in the Comedy Store for 3 different movies and a TV show. And I listed them all. But I forgot at least 3 other TV appearances directly resulted from performing there. And I should just tell them out. One was a TV show. One was comedian Don Barris's TV show. One was another comedian there, Peter Chen's TV show. And one was America's Most Wanted. I kid you not. I was actually on America's Most Wanted. And you're going what? That's a whole long story for another time, and not now. So in all, I was in at least 4 TV appearances, 4 different TV shows, and 3 different movies at the Comedy Store. just being at the Comedy Store got me 4 TV appearances, 4 different TV shows, and 3 different movies. And there could be more, because I'm being honest. Just like I forgot those 3, I could be forgetting 3 more. Seriously, I can't keep track. Because back then, I was constantly being filmed for movies, TV shows, internet channels, both for the stuff that was involved in the Comedy Store and for projects independent of that place. I mean, I was busy back then with so many film projects. I mean, I was a hot commodity. Now I'm a has-been, but back then, things were happening. So it's hard to keep it all straight because I was constantly doing stuff. Also, from performing at the Comedy Store, I got the closest I ever came to landing my own TV show. That's a fact. The producer of the Jimmy Kimmel Live show. Maybe you've heard of Jimmy Kimmel Live. The producer of the show watched me perform at the Comedy Store like a million times, and he became a huge fan of mine. And of course, he's Catholic and he's Italian. So how much more so, right? So, duh. You got a Catholic, you got an Italian, right? Of course, you're gonna love me. I mean, that goes without saying, but I just said it anyways, right? Okay, so you got this Catholic Italian producer of that TV show, and he saw me, loved me, and whatever. So one day he was in my house, right here in the house of Rabbs, and he was filming me for a movie he was producing. And he told me for his next TV project, he wanted to create a show like The Bachelor. Is anybody familiar with The Bachelor? Okay, so he wanted to do his own Bachelor, but with a spin on it. And it would be the Jewy Bachelor, and it'd be starring me. I'd be the Bachelor. And the show would feature me and 25 single Jewish chicks. And they'd all want to marry me and have kids with me. And then we'd go through this whole series, right? The whole season or whatever. And in the final episode, I'd choose the winner, and the camera would zoom in on her face when I'd announce that I'm not having kids. It's hilarious, right? But the self-hating Jews running the networks passed on it, so it never happened. But that is probably the closest I ever got to having my own show for an entire season, kind of a thing. I came close to having specials, a one-time special here or there, or a documentary about me or something like that. But this was like the first time I had closest I ever came to like an ongoing show about me only. There was other things I was involved in show that, like, Showtime wanted to do a show where I was part of the cast, but it wasn't specifically about me. Anyways, I mentioned that Catholics are my biggest fans, right? And I want to just clarify on that, because I saw there was some confusion about that in the chat room transcripts from last week. When I say Catholics, I mean people that grew up, right? I mean people that grew up with Catholic culture, values, norms, mores. So either they attended Catholic school or their parents attended it. They themselves don't need to be practicing Catholics today. That's very important. I gave my friend Jeff Jenna as an example. He grew up Catholic, but he's now Methodist. But it doesn't matter what he follows today, because he grew up with Catholic perspective, and he thinks Rabbi Rabbs is funny, as do all people that grew up like that. And I know something that even includes people that grew up like that, and then they converted to becoming Jewish. The Jews that love me, there's very few Jews that are really into me. The ones that are into me are usually people like with some sort of Catholic influence. Either they're a product of intermarriage, and their mother is a Jew, but their father was a Catholic, so they have that influence. That's enough. Or they are a convert and they used to be Catholic. Oh, well, that's perfect. That's just another Catholic in my book. So when I say the word Catholic, I don't mean people who are actually practicing Catholicism. I mean people who grew up with that influence. And I just call them Catholics. And I gave it another example that Mexicans love me, right? I talked about the show that I used to perform in that was a Mexican show, because they're Catholic, right? So it's funny, since last week's show, I have a Mexican Facebook friend that never gives a shit about anything I post unless it's about hockey. Unless it's about hockey, like, I never see this guy on my page. So a couple days ago, I posted a clip of me performing in the world famous Comedy Store in Hollywood. And suddenly, out of fucking nowhere, that Mexican friend comments that I was fucking funny. I mean, I was stunned he even listened to that video. But of course, he's Catholic and he was into me. That's just how it works. All right. Let's see how the chat room's doing. You guys under control? Oh, R7, that's Ruben's in the room. So big shout out to Ruben. How you doing? Wow, so we got quite a few people in the room tonight, don't we? Yes, we do. All right. Okay, you know what, guys? You're writing a lot of stuff in the chat, and I'm not going to be able to keep up with all that all the dialogue. So I'll catch it after the show. If you want to send something that you want me to hear about, you have a question for me, then pop it in. Hit me on a private message on my Just hit me on a private message and I'll in the chat, and I'll try to get to it later. All right, moving on. Now another follow up from last show. I mentioned last week that I'm not attracted to most Jewish women who are purebreds, who have two Jewish parents, let's say, and they're both of the same group, like, they're both European Jews, they're both Ashkenazi Jews. I just tend not to be attracted to them because they look too much like me. And that if I had to marry a woman with two Jewish parents, I'd prefer, and she was a purebred, I'd prefer that she'd be a Persian Jew. Okay, so that's what I said last week. I should mention that I actually prefer Jewish women who only have one Jewish parent. Let's say their mom is a Jew, okay, but their dad is not. He's a Gentile, and there was an intermarriage, okay? So the woman who is a product of intermarriage. So I just find that I tend to be attracted to them more because I find that they're better looking. They have a different set of genes. They're, a whole brand new gene pool. And even if she's Ashkenazi, it's okay because she won't have the double Ashke inbred, purebred look that I have, that everybody in my family has. And I'm very attracted to that. I'm very attracted to somebody who doesn't look like me. Also, I'm very attracted to converts, and to products of two converts. Let's say I had a convert came and joined us, and they got married to another convert, and their kids are Jewish. I'm very attracted to them because these are women with no Jewish DNA in them at all. And, that's totally exotic to me, and I'm attracted to it. And I can talk about this stuff because I've dated all of them. I've dated everybody. Like I said, I've dated a million women. I've dated converts. I've dated the children from a pair of converts. I've dated a million different products of intermarriage. Their mom's Jewish, their dad isn't, and I date the daughter. A million of them. I got engaged to one of them. My fiance was a product of intermarriage. I've dated the double Ashkes. Not many of them, but I have. Purebred Ashkes. I've also dated Persians. I got to be honest. Although Persians, I consider them very hot looking, I won't date another one of them. I'm done. I'm completely done dating Persians. 3 strikes, not doing it again. I've had I dated 3 women who extensively who for prolonged periods that were Persian, and I'm not doing a 4th. One of them I got engaged to. One of them I almost married. I almost got engaged to. And another one I went out for quite a few dates. And I'm not doing a 4th. Done. And it's not the fault of the women. It's the fault of the parents. I can't deal with the whole Persian family thing. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. Okay, it's always the parents. It's never the girl. It's always the parents. I can't deal with it, and I'm not doing it again. I tried it, not doing it again. I can't. But I did learn a lot of things by dating, by being part. I live in a Persian community, and so everybody surrounding me is Persian. I talk to these people all the time. I dated the women, and I'm familiar, and through the women I met the families, and I know a lot about Persians, and I like being friends with them, but I don't want to marry into them. I don't want to marry into the families. I really don't. But I also have a hunch. I've been living over here for 30 years. I've been living over here for 30 years, in this Persian neighborhood. And there's some things that I learned. And one of the things that I've learned is, maybe I put this together, and I don't even have facts for this, but this is my own shot. The women are so extraordinarily hot looking. And I just think that all the guys that marry them, with the Persian guys that marry them, also think that. And they marry these girls. They get married young when these girls are really hot looking. And the because they want her so bad because she's so hot looking. They're the ones. She has all the power in the relationship. She has all the power because he wants her probably more than she wants him. Okay, and it's like a marriage based on looks, because he really wants her for her looks, and she just, I don't know. She just goes along with it. I don't know what her deal is, but she gets treated like a queen. And then her looks fade, and he realizes, what did he marry? What did he marry? He married this woman who's been spoiled rotten by every man she met and by her family because she's their daughter and she's good looking, and he realizes he made a mistake. And then what happens? I have seen this so many times. As the kids get older, the marriage starts falling apart. Now they never get divorced. I don't know any Persians that ever get divorced, but they just stay in these bad marriages. And it's not healthy, and they end up not even sleeping together. And I can't tell you how many Persian Jewish families I know where the mom and dad don't sleep together anymore. They're done. And that's all I ever hear from their kids. And I kind of like formulate how this, again, when you're just sitting home alone all day, and you're naked and you've got nothing to do. I mean, these are kind of things that I think of. Oh, yeah. And once again, I have to show my feet. All right. So here's my feet. Okay, that's minhag of the show. All right. So we did that. Okay. So like, this is just like one of these, racist things that comes through my head, because I live in this neighborhood and I'm trying to figure it out. So like I kind of sorted it out in my head that like these guys, like these women are really hot when they're like 20, 25 years old, and these guys like bend over backwards to get one, and they get one. Her looks start fading. He realizes that she's just another spoiled another princess, like what does he need her for? And it just doesn't work out anymore. Like when she hits 40, 45, 50, they're done. And then they don't get divorced, so they just stick with each other in this bad marriage. And that's usually when I come into the picture. It's like right around the time that they're like unhappy with each other, then I show up, and that's what I see. This is what I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm speculating. All right, what am I talking about? Let's keep moving. You know what? I want to find out that I'm wrong. I want to think that I'm wrong. I want to hope that I'm wrong. So I want to hear from Persian Jews whose parents are still into each other, have been married a long time, and they're still going to bed together and sleeping in the same bed. I want to hear from you. Because I don't hear enough from you. I haven't heard enough from you people, and I don't even know how many of you even exist. Anyway, on a happy note, tonight is Tu B'Av. So happy Tu B'Av, everybody. Tonight is the 15th of Av. Can you say Tu B'Av? That means the 15th of Av. Tu means it's an abbreviation for Tet and Vav. So you put it together, it's the number 15 of the month of Av. Tonight's 15th of Av. So that's a holiday. So happy holidays, everybody. Woo! So the Gemara, the Talmud tells us in Tainus 26b that today's a holiday. I didn't make this up. I did not make this up. People are thinking like, you're making this up. There's no holiday today. No, it's right in the Gemara. And it's like a matchmaking day. It's the Jewish Valentine's Day, if you will. All right? It's a day to find your lover. It's a day to find your wife, your husband. This is the day. It's a very joyous day. It's a day of celebration. And the way it was traditionally celebrated through the ages. Now check this out. All of the Jewish single females would get together and they would dress up in each other's clothes. They wouldn't wear their own clothes. They would exchange them with someone else. That's probably some custom or something that like the rich girls would wear like shmata rags and the poor girls would wear like rich clothes, so that it would come out that you wouldn't be choosing the woman based on how much money she had, because you don't know who was rich and who was poor because they all swapped clothes, okay? And so then you would just pick out the girl in, oh, wait, I forgot that. Wait, hold, stop. One more thing. So they would all dress up each other's clothes, and they would come out, like everybody would gather around, like they'd rent like some big hall or something. I don't know. And then like all the girls who were still single, they would dance together. They would do like a big dance, okay? And the guys would be watching them. And while the guys were watching, they'd pick out the one that they wanted to marry based on her dancing. I mean, you're crazy, right? I mean, this is like the dating game. You ever watch that show on TV? The dating. It is like dating game on steroids. It's like, okay, we're just gonna have them dance. We're not even gonna talk to them. We're just gonna watch them dance, and based on like what who's the best, the one that turns us on dancing the most, that's the one we're gonna marry. I mean, like what? So much for trying to put the intellect above the physical. So much for like caring about what's like inside her head and what kind of person she is. We're just worried about what she looks like dancing. I don't get it. I didn't make this up, but that's what the Gemara says. Okay, so I got to ask the question: which one of you Jewish women wants to dance for me? I'm single. It's Tu B'Av. Knock yourself out. Let's dance for me. Either come over and dance for me in person. That'd be ideal. But like maybe you live too far. So, put together a little video of you dancing, send it to me. I want to see you dance. Maybe I'll marry you based on the fact that you dance. So that is the theme song of today's show, ladies and gentlemen. Dancing in Heaven. Tonight's the night we dance. It's a celebration, and that says that matches are made in heaven. So we dance tonight. It's about making matches, and the women dance. So it's dancing in heaven. That's the theme song. All right, let's take a look at the chat room. Who feel like somebody else joined it? Yes, a couple of people are like in the chat room. They're like watching on their PCs or whatever, but they haven't like logged in the chat room. So go ahead and log in. I'm assuming because the cell phone people are completely not part of this. Like 10 cell phone people could be watching right now, or 1,000 people, 10,000, 25,000 cell phone people are watching right now, and I won't have any notification of it. So Ruvain says his frickin' connection is too spotty. He may have to check out. All right, so that's what's happening there. Okay, so back to this story. Okay, so the topic so that's the story on Tu B'Av. If you have any questions, post it to my YouTube. Ask the question on my YouTube, and I can probably respond to it now because I've fixed my YouTube issues. All right. This week's topic is not just about Tu B'Av. I think we basically covered it. There's not much else to the story of Tu B'Av. This week's topic is we're concluding our series. We're doing the fourth type of immoral relationship. The Torah tells us, and this is for Jews and Gentiles alike. It's the Noachites and it's in the 613. There's four types of immoral sexual relationships. The homosexual act for males. Yeah, the homosexual act for males. Adultery, we know Eshes Ish, a married woman has sex with another man. Incest, as defined by the Torah, which is like father-daughter, so that kind of stuff. But certainly not first cousins. That's just inbreeding. Now we're going to do the fourth one. And the fourth one is called bestiality, which is, I'll explain what that is. That's basically a person has sexual relations with an animal. And that's completely immoral. And you're thinking, well, who does that? Oh, boy. There's people on the planet today that have sex with sheep. Sheep are quite common. I think that's probably the most common. That's the most commonly abused, molested animal on the planet. Probably sheep. I don't know. I don't really want to know. And this applies for Jews and Noachites that's considered immoral, and anybody who does it, what's the penalty? It's a death penalty. And it's the death penalty according to Vayikra, according to Leviticus 20:15. You can see it right there for yourself. It's the death penalty for the person that abused the animal and for the animal. They both go down. There's a death sentence for the person that did that and for the animal. And you're thinking, like, what the hell did the animal do, right? It's like the victim. We punish the victim. Like, what the hell's that? So what did the animal do wrong, right? Animals don't have free will. It's not like the animal chose to do that. They don't have free will. They're just they're just robots from God. God, like God is wrapped up in their body, like he's a puppet string. He pulls the puppet strings, and the animal is just a puppet. The puppet of God. God moves the animal. Animal's not even alive. It's got no free choice. He's not really there. It's a facade. And the animals got no mitzvahs. They did nothing wrong. So why would they be sentenced to death? So the Medrash tells us the answer. Medrash tells us that the reason why God says we got to kill the animal is to teach us a lesson. If the animal is stoned to death and it did not have free will, so how much more so we deserve to be stoned to death when we choose to do that with our free will. We chose to have sex with an animal. We surely deserve to die because we know the animal doesn't even get a break in this. The animal gets executed, so you, for sure, there's no mercy for you. And that's the reason for that. All right. So I think we covered that. Everybody is still... everybody's still... What? What are you guys even talking about? Okay. All right, so now we're just going to keep moving forward. Now, there's something else I want to talk about. There's other types of forms of animal abuse. Bestiality, having, relations, molesting animals is one form of abusing animals, right? But there's other forms of wait a minute. I just want to check something, okay? Oh, yeah. Okay. There's other forms of animal abuse. There's other forms of animal abuse. There's all kinds. It's cruelty to animals. There's all kinds. So, but I want to set the record straight on one specific type of animal abuse, okay? And that is spay and neutering. There seems to be great confusion regarding spaying and neutering animals. It is certainly animal abuse to spay and neuter an animal. And I have found that surprisingly, too many self-proclaimed animal rights activists and vegans who criticize us for slaughtering cows will turn around and they will somehow lecture us that we need to, for some reason, spay and neuter our pets. And I'm like, are you gotta be fucking kidding me? You gotta be fucking kidding me. You're the person who won't eat meat and you're, oh, I'm a vegan, can't killing cows is murder, can't kill cows, blah, 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 you can't eat meat. And then you're gonna turn around and lecture us that we need to spay and neuter our cats and dogs? What? Are you serious? I mean, like, I don't even know what to say. It's like, how the hell can anyone that claims to support animal rights and is against, just turn around and torture animals and tell others to go ahead and torture animals? I mean, it boggles my head. It makes me want to shoot myself in the fucking head. I mean, you're cutting off its fucking balls, for fuck's sake. It's fucking balls. You're cutting them off. I can't think of anything less humane. I mean, that's horrible. That's absolutely inhumane. It's mortifying. There's two levels here. There's two levels. One is I can't. It's mortifying that people spay and neuter their pets. To me, it's just so horrific to cut the cat's balls off. I mean, I know it's accepted in secular society, but it's something that needs to be examined, because think about what you're doing. It's horrible. So that's number one. But the number two part is, the people who seem to be lecturing, the ones I hear from, spay and neuter your pets, spay and neuter your pets, are the ones that are vegans, and they should be the ones who badafka are the most sensitive to animals, and they just aren't. Like, on the one hand, they don't want them to be killed, but it's okay to torture them and rip their balls off. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Torah is clear. Castrating an animal, ripping pieces out of it, is torture. It's the grotesque torture. Making it sterile like that against its will is torture. It's cruelty to animals. Killing an animal swiftly so there's no pain, kosher slaughter, perfectly permitted. That's not cruelty. So vegans, like, to talk about this stuff, are got their head up their ass backwards. They're completely wrong. And the fact that it is such a heinous type of abuse to animals is why God included one of the 613 mitzvahs that he gave the Jews explicitly, not to cut off the male genitals of any animal. And any Jew that does that to a male animal is chayav kairos. Chayav kairos. That means you're like, you cut off whatever. It's like eating chametz on Pesach. That's according to the Minchas Chinuch. And the Minchas Chinuch, he lists it as commandment number 291. Removing the genitals from a female animal is also strictly forbidden, but it's not chayav kairos. There's no heter, there's no exemption to do either. These are isers deraisa. You can't do this. You can't mutilate animals that are alive. You just can't. It's torture. It's abuse. And that's. I covered like the part for Jews. Now, according to Rav Chadika on Baba Metzia 90a and over in Sanhedrin in 56b, he says on his commentary on the Talmud that even Gentiles, people who aren't Jewish, are also strictly forbidden from performing such inhumane acts such as spay and neutering. You see, folks, Judaism is the true protector against cruelty to animals. God is the only source of true morals. Morals come from God, not from some leftist movement that makes things up as they go along and has everything asked backwards. Cruelty to animals is something that Judaism strictly forbids. Jews are the people that brought animal rights to the world. The Torah is the first place in the history of mankind, that forbids cruelty to animals. Whereas the self-proclaimed, these animal rights activists that advocate spay and neutering, they're not the true savior and protector of animals. They're just wannabe posers. And here's another thing. Judaism commands us to kill and eat animals. That is not cruelty. That is not abuse. But the vegans and these animal rights people, they say, oh, that's murder. And they're very confused. And they're going to try to make it illegal. I can tell you right now where we're heading. You watch. These leftists, these animal rights people, they're going to try and make it illegal for anyone in America to eat meat. And it's going to be the leftist strike again. You think, well, that's impossible. Oh, really? Look what they're doing with the same-sex marriage, and they shove that down our throat. It's just one thing after another that they just shove down our throat, and this is going to be the next one. It's like, oh, you can't eat meat. Watch. They already make kosher slaughter illegal all over Europe. Jews are not allowed to slaughter animals. Even though that our way is probably the most humane and least painful way, they don't let us do it. Denmark this week just joined the list of all the anti-Semitic assholes who won't let Jews slaughter kosher. I mean, it's unbelievable. They might as well just put up a sign, Judenrein. They might as well, Jews not welcome here. Because if we can't eat meat there, then we can't live there, right? I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So Denmark joins the list of all these anti-Semitic countries in Europe. Europe's no place for a Jew. Now, if European-type leftism sweeps the United States, it's over for Jews here and it's time to leave. And I don't even know where to go. There's no place better right now. There's no place safe. All right. Wow, I got through all that by 8:36. That's amazing. All right, anybody still left watching this thing? Everybody left. Everybody's headed. There's nobody left in the chat room. Everybody headed for the door. Everybody's pissed off because they spayed and neutered their pets, and they're pissed off. All right, now. I'm just reading the chat room. Oh, Malachi writes, if someone adopted a pet who was already spayed and neutered, would that be okay? Well, why not? I mean, you adopted a pet. You don't, I mean, you didn't do anything. You took it in. I mean, you didn't do anything wrong. That's fine. Right. All right. I'll read the transcript later. All right, now I'm going to change topics. So again, if you have any questions on spay and neutering or animal abuse or any of these things, you can write to me on my YouTube because I think I should be able to comment you there. All right, moving right along. Wow, we're making some time here. I'm going to change topics. Something I want to discuss. I want to change topics. I want to talk about stuff that's going on right now. Current events. I always like to talk current events. I want to talk about I want to talk about somebody who is making a lot of news lately and picking up a lot of momentum. And I just thought I would give my take on this person. And the person is Donald Trump. I never thought I'd really be spending a lot of time talking about Donald Trump on this show, but at this point, he is this huge elephant in the room, and I think he's worth discussing because this guy is insanely popular. His momentum is building, and it's a good time to talk about him. So this next segment is called Rabbi Rabbs' take on Donald Trump. All right, so you all familiar with who he is. First of all, I wanted to make a disclaimer that I'm not voting for this guy. I am not voting for Donald Trump, but there's a reason. And the reason is that he has no military experience. And I won't vote. I already explained this at great length, that I strongly believe, to the point where I begged for I'm very much a proponent, I want to make an amendment to the Constitution that every commander-in-chief must have prior military experience or combat experience or military officer experience, leadership. They got to have something. Because we can't keep sending fucking civilians up there anymore. That's done. We can't do that anymore. That's a huge mistake. So this guy has no military experience, so I'm not going to vote for him. I can't do it. I can't do it. It goes against my morals. I can't vote for somebody for commander-in-chief who has no military experience. So he's not qualified for commander-in-chief. I can't vote for him. But then again, no one running this so far, nobody who's running for president this time around is qualified. Not a single one of them. So as we stand now, I'm not voting for anyone. So I'm once again, just like last time. Last time I sat it out, and it looks like I'm sitting it out this time because this country refuses to put up anybody who's qualified to run. Okay? So I just want to put that disclaimer there. I am not a Trump voter. Okay? I'm not voting for the guy. So I just want to put that out there. Now, having said that, I do want to say that I agree with Donald Trump on illegal immigration. And it is a breath of fresh air. It is refreshing, as they say. What's the other, the other soundbite cliches everybody always says. It's great that to finally hear somebody like him step up and start talking about it, and he's not politically correct when he says it, and you can't be politically correct when you talk about this stuff. You got to like just put it out there as a truth. And he's saying it, and he's gaining like all kinds of incredible steam because there is a huge millions and millions of us in America that are just waiting for somebody to have the balls to step up and talk about this stuff. Because it is time that we stop illegals from entering the country. And we need to deport all of the illegals that are already here. And this is what Donald Trump is talking about. So I applaud him. He's the first one of these guys to get it right and to say it. This guy's my fucking hero. And of course, the leftists and the liberal media has gone fucking nutso, trying to paint Donald Trump as a racist bigot. I even read on one left-wing website, it tried to refute Donald Trump's claims about illegals. Let me explain. Trump had said that illegals from Mexico are the worst Mexicans. You know, it's like the worst that Mexico sends the worst to us when it like pushes these illegals across the border, you know, into our country. So the website, this left-wing website, brought all kinds of data to show that the illegals, these illegal aliens, weren't so criminal as Donald Trump claimed. And all the while, I'm reading this apologetics from this left-wing website, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, all illegals are criminal. I repeat, every single illegal alien is a criminal. They are all criminals. It's not like, oh, you know, quit cherry picking a few problems here and there. All of these people are criminals. They're all criminal. I'm not going to judge each person. I'm not going to say, well, they're all bad, but they're all criminals. They are all felons the moment they cross the borders without a visa. That left-wing website and all the ones that agree with it and anyone that argues against me is disingenuous or is completely clueless when it comes to federal immigration statutes. It's just amazing to me what depths the left will go. Liberals are pathetic. I mean, I just don't understand how you can just gloss over the fact, oh, these people are fine. Oh, you know what it is? You know, they reterm them. They call them undocumented workers. They came to work and they forgot their documents. They got up in the morning and they forgot their documents. No, they're illegal aliens. Okay, they're illegal aliens. That's what they are. They're illegal. They're criminals. Okay, Title 8 of the U.S. Code says any alien, uses that word, who enters the U.S. without permission shall be imprisoned for 6 months. These people come here without permission. They're aliens and they should be imprisoned for 6 months. And all illegal aliens are criminals. All tens of millions of these people should be in prison. Every last one of them. They have no respect for our laws. And if they work here, then you know what? They're thieves too. And they stole our jobs. They stole our jobs. These jobs belong to American citizens. And they came, they broke in the house, they broke our border, they trespassed, which is a felony, in prison, it's with a prison sentence, and they steal our jobs. And the opposition to that is the supporters of that will say, the left wing will say, oh, but they're such hardworking people and they don't hurt anybody. And I'm like, bullshit. They broke into our country. They showed absolute contempt, complete disrespect for us and our laws. They stole our jobs. They steal our women, and they drive so fucking slow on the freeways, and they cause these huge traffic delays, these huge jams on the freeways every fucking day. It takes me more than 2 fucking hours just to get down to Anaheim to see a Ducks game. You know why? Because they drive like 50 on the freeway, and they slow it down to a crawl because there's like millions of these people, and they get on the freeway at the same time, and they drive 50, and it's like all the way across 4 lanes, 50 miles an hour, nobody's moving, right? And why do they drive so fucking slow? Because they got no driver's license, right? They got no insurance. Okay, let me explain this. In California, we have laws, right? So in California, you have to have a driver's license to get in a car, and you also have to have insurance. Well, these people have no money for insurance and they can't get a driver's license. They couldn't get a driver's license because they weren't American citizens. They were here illegally. So they don't want to get caught. If they get pulled over, they're going to get hit with oh my God, they're going to get hit with a massive ticket because they have no license and they have no insurance. So they're probably going to lose. They can't even lose their license. Probably be thrown in jail for that. They'll probably be thrown in jail because they never had a license. They never had insurance. So they're going to be thrown in jail. And if I don't know how it works, but if the state, worked with the INS or whatever, then they could theoretically be deported. I don't know how that works. I'm not an expert in this. So they stand to lose a lot, right? They could go to jail. They could get fined. And they can get deported, so they all drive fucking slow because they think if they drive slow, so no cop is going to fucking pull them over because the cops are looking for people going 75. But come on, the cops aren't stupid at this point. You got 55 fucking million people driving in LA every fucking day, and they're going 50. We know who the illegal aliens are. They're the ones going 50. If I were a cop, I would just pull the ones who were over 50 over. The ones going 75. Whatever. The ones going 50 are the ones that are slowing down traffic. They're a nuisance to everybody else. They're slowing down everybody. And they're the ones who shouldn't even be on the freeway because they got no license, no insurance, and they're not even Americans. Woo! So that's what I got to say about that. I got to say something. I'm friendly. I'm not like, one of these racist people that hates Mexicans. I'm even friendly with a bunch of illegals that work in my neighborhood. They work right here in my neighborhood. Lots of them. My fucking neighborhood is full of illegal aliens. They're full of illegal Mexicans and other people from South America, or from Central America. They work here. Doesn't matter. They need to leave. And these jobs need to go to Americans who are out of work. That's a fact. Americans that are out of work need to have those jobs. I'll get to that. If these Mexicans stay, or these Central Americans, these Guatemalans or whatever they stay, I'm nice to them, very nice to them. I'm nice to everyone. But you ask me, as a group, they all have to go, and these jobs go back to being Americans, and that's how you can start solving your unemployment problem. That is how you solve your unemployment problem. I looked at this one day. The number of illegal aliens here almost is exactly the number of people who are unemployed. Why? Because every illegal alien crosses the border, takes a job from an American. That's a fact, right? And it's a one-for-one. It's about a one-for-one. They take the job, an American is out of work. They're stealing our jobs. They're putting us in unemployment. And then we got all these other things. Now we got to figure out how to have Obamacare, because we got to figure out how do we insure the people who just lost their job. They lost their job because these people here. You're patching up a big institutional problem with a Band-Aid, and you're going after the wrong thing. You're saying, oh, these people don't have any insurance. We got to tax the rich so we can insure the poor. No, fucking control the goddamn border. Pardon my language. Fuck up the border. Get rid of the fucking border problem. Kick all these illegals out of here. Then you can do what? Then you can put everybody back to work, and you don't have the insurance issues. Yeah. All right. I'm about to pop a head. My head's about to explode. Anyways, let's see what's happening. Let me keep going. So I want to say that Donald Trump has done a great thing in dividing, into entering this race and saying what he's been saying. Because a lot of us are fucking angry. And he's our voice, because no one is saying our piece, because everybody's afraid to say our piece because it's not politically correct. The left is going to wipe you out and call you a racist bigot and this stuff. And I'm like, fuck, nobody's ever going to talk about this, and we're all going to hell in a handbasket. All right, I'm going to talk more about Donald Trump. Let's see what the chat room says about me. So some people like what I like. Oh, they're saying preach what I. Rosalie says, preach what Malachi says, look, we're still here. Preach. All right. So that's what's going on. Anybody in the social stream? Quakes from, where is Quakes? I'm putting in, Quakes is in the room now. So big welcome to Quakes. Quakes probably hates this part. He hates when I go into politics, but he likes when I lose it. So this is like a little bit of each. I'm losing it, so he likes it when I go off, but he doesn't like the politics so much. So we'll get through this fast. All right, so I think that Donald Trump has done a great thing. Besides the fact that he's like the voice for the angry guy like me, he's done a great thing as indirectly. It wasn't. I don't know if it was his intent, but it's happened because he's divided the Republican candidates. the GOP candidates, and there's like no shortage of these people. It's like the Kentucky Derby. Like you get like a full field of people. There's like 25 or 40 Republican candidates that are running. I mean, it's insane. Like if you're a Republican, you're probably running. I mean, they're all running. The whole party's running, and they're one by one. They're all like clones. We don't know who's who. Like they're all the same. But he's done a great job of exposing who are the rhinos. The rhino. He's doing it for us. What's a rhino? A rhino means a R-I-N-O, not with the animal with the horn. Rhino means a Republican in name only. These are posers. These are really people who don't belong in the Republican Party. They're not conservative. They're not on board. They don't have the balls for it. They don't have the stomach to really be a conservative and say the kind of things that I say. They can't. They can't do it. And I'm not even a Republican. We'll get to that in a second. I'm an independent. These people are less conservative than I am, and they're not fit to be Republicans, and they need to get the hell out of the party. And all of the people, all of the candidates that you see, read about, or you see on TV, and they have bad things to say about Donald Trump, those people are rhinos. And they're not Republicans, they're Democrats. Or in Rand Paul's case, because he just trashed Trump today, he's going to get it. Trump's next roadkill is going to be Rand Paul, and I can't wait for that son of a bitch, that anti-Semite's going to get steamrolled either tomorrow or during the debates. Trump's not going to put up with this guy. All these people are either Democrats or, in Rand Paul's case, a libertarian, and they don't belong in the Republican Party. And Donald Trump right now is pushing the party line. He's being a real Republican. He's being a real conservative. This is the part that turns me on about the GOP, that he is really standing up for conservatives in California. He's standing up for us, our voice. And these other Republicans are scratching at him, and they hate him because they're not Republicans. They're Democrats. Let's take Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush went off. He was the first one to throw his hat in the ring and start fighting Trump and saying how bad Trump is. And I'm like, what is your problem? Jeb Bush is a total Democrat. Not only did he trash Trump, he ran Florida with 7 different cities of exile, the Ari Miklat. Cities of exile, cities of refuge, the refuge cities, the Ari Miklat, where the illegal aliens could go and you can't bother them there. You can't arrest them there or something. I don't know. They hide them there. And this was okay for him. This guy is not a conservative. And on top of that, he had the audacity to trash the Confederate flag and said it represents racism and it's insensitive and it needs to come down. I'm saying, like, fuck that son of a bitch. Okay? I have no patience for Jeb Bush. Get him out of the party. You trash Trump, you trash the Confederate flag, now you're going to pay. And now you know what's going to happen? He's going to lose his own state, and Trump's going to take that from him. John McCain, he called anyone who supports Trump, he called them the crazies. Well, I like Trump. I think he's doing great, so I guess I'm a crazy. So I'm the crazy, although I'm not part of the party, and I'm not voting for Trump, but by proxy, I'm included in there, and so I'm a crazy. I'm crazy. So John McCain is a total rhino. And I voted for that asshat in 2008. So you know what, dude? It's the same crazies. It's the same crazies who voted for you. How about that one? Okay? I voted for that asshat in 2008. And why did I vote for him? Because I vote for military guys. Remember that? Yeah, right. That guy's such a putz. He should just join the Democratic Party and get it over with. And then there's Rick Perry. What a tool. Rick Perry. I've seen dead bodies with more life in them. Have you ever watched this guy? He was governor of Texas. Perry gave financial incentive to illegals to cross into Texas. This guy is a worthless tool. And he even accused Donald Trump of prejudice against all Hispanic Americans. He said that Trump is prejudiced against all Hispanic Americans. And I'm like, what? No, you can't be that stupid. They're illegal aliens. By definition, they're not Americans. You stupid yuts. Then there's Lindsey Graham, total rhino. This guy supported amnesty for illegals. So go fuck yourself. And these are the people that are trashing Trump. Chris Christie, he's a fat tub of rhino is what he is. He this week came out against Trump. All of these people who come out and trash Donald Trump have no business in the Republican Party. These people are rhinos and these people are assholes. So far, I only see one GOP candidate that stood up for Trump. The guy's name is Cruz. Ted Cruz or Nelson Cruz, something. If Trump doesn't win, then I want Cruz to win. And the truth is, these candidates that support amnesty and they're okay with illegals being here, they hate Trump and they should never be in the Republican Party and they should never be president. Okay? So what is Trump doing? Trump's doing a great thing by exposing them. Even if Trump doesn't win, right? He's done something great for everybody in the Republican Party. He's exposed who the rhinos are, who these people are, that we don't need them. We don't need a Democrat infiltrating the Republican Party, and winning the nomination. Oh, but they can win. They can beat Hillary. Yeah, well, what's the difference? They're no different than Hillary. They're just going to give amnesty, to illegals. They're not going to do anything that you might as well vote for Hillary. There's no difference. This is why I didn't vote for Romney. Even if he had military experience, I wouldn't vote for Romney against Obama. I see no difference. He's a Democrat. They're both Democrats. What's the difference? But since I'm not voting, I'd love to see Trump win. I really would. I'd love to see Trump win. I'd love to see him I can't wait to see the debates next week. I can't wait to see him on the campaign trail and all these debates. And I'd love to see him debate against Hillary. I think it'd be entertainment beyond compare. The ratings would be through the roof. And I'd like to see him run with Howard Stern as his vice presidential running mate. Howard Stern. I think it'd be fucking excellent. Stern said on his radio show many times that this country is, and I quote, up to its ass in foreigners. And that's not just illegals, but legal immigrants. And Howard was right. We are up to our eyeballs in foreigners. He gets it. And Trump gets it. And they and us will be called white racist bigots. And you know what? I'm like, whatever. I'm so immune to that name calling and bullying. We'll never save the United States if we continue to cower to the left-wing bullies. And the left wing controls the media and all of the movies and the TV shows and the TV news programs, except for Fox. So they hate Fox because they don't control it. Plus, the left wing controls the public schools, both kindergarten through 12, and the colleges, right? Unless you're going to like Catholic school or yeshiva, you're basically getting indoctrinated with all this Marxist bullshit. It's all this disgusting liberal progressive narrative that's been shoved down America's throat. So conservatives have two choices. Either you dare to be different and you stand up against the narrative that has portrayed us as demons, as racist bigots that want to kill all the people that aren't white and all the people that aren't Christian. That's how they characterize us. So either stand up and face the music, face their name calling and their bullying and their boycotting of our businesses, because that's what those Marxists do. Because if you dare to disagree with them and you support their opponents, then they call for boycotts of your businesses. I mean, it's horrible. Look at this dentist, this poor dentist. What happened to him? He shot this fucking lion. Like, who fucking cares, right? He shot a lion, right? I mean, it's like ISIS. These Muslims, they kill millions of people every day, and one fucking dentist kills one fucking cat, and everybody goes fucking haywire. I'm like, who cares? I'm like, stop, right? So now they want to drive this dentist out of business, cause him to lose his license and everything. And I'm like, what? I mean, it's horrible. That's what you're going to do? You're going to do that to him? I'm like, what is wrong here? It's like my head is ready to explode. So either we stand up to that or we become part of it. And if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Because silence is tacit approval of the left wings, of the left wing. And Trump is somebody that has the balls to stand up against it. And he's called names, and they try to smear the shit out of him. I mean, if you just look at the news every day, it's tons and tons of different media trying to smear him. And he doesn't care. He's awesome. This guy is fucking awesome. He's the greatest thing that happened to politics since Ross Perot. And if any of you remember Ross Perot in the early 90s, the guy was phenomenal. He was awesome. And we haven't had a breath of fresh air, in my opinion, since then. Until now. And I think that it's a lesson for all of us. We all need to take that lead. We need to stand up. But in a place where there's no men, there's no man. There's a place where there's no man. Try to be a man. Try to be a mensch. Try to stand up for something. And you know what? I want to tell you something. Trump can win a general election against the Democrats. Everybody says, oh, he can't win. He can't beat Hillary. He can't even beat Bernie fucking Sanders. Why would you want to beat Bernie Sanders? You know, Greece just went belly up because they have socialism, and they just went fucking belly up. And people like, you know, this is a good time to vote for Bernie Sanders so America could follow Greece's lead. I mean, like, who the hell would ever vote for this guy, right? I mean, it's like ridiculous, but okay, whatever. But right now in the polls, he can't beat anybody, right? So everybody's like, oh, he can't win in general election. And I'm like, that's not true. Don't go by these stupid polls. I'm telling you right now, if every black person, every African-American person that lost their job, follow me now, every African-American that lost their job to an illegal alien, if they would vote for Trump in the general election, and if only U.S. citizens could vote, because it's going to be a fair election, everybody only votes once. You have to be a U.S. citizen to vote, so no bringing in illegals to stuff the ballot box. Trump would win California. I'm telling you right now, Trump would win California. I am positive that he would. Absolutely positive. Because I know this for a fact. We saw this in 2008 when we passed Proposition 8, the Marriage Act, whatever they call it. The one-liner, and put in the California Constitution that, you know, marriage is defined as a man and a woman, and it passed. And how did it pass on 2008? It passed because Obama ran for president. And all the African Americans in California, all the black people came out and voted that day. And while they were in the ballot box, they voted for that because they still have Christian, Judeo-Christian values. So they wanted to define marriage as only between a man and a woman. And they came out and they passed it. If you can bring all the black people out, they will help you out. And they will vote, and that will win it for you. That's how it works in California. You got to figure out how to get to them. You get to them because they're unemployed. Blacks have terrible unemployment. And the reason is because they lost their jobs to illegal aliens. I'll talk about that in a minute. So if you can just get these people to vote for Trump, because Trump is, you know, we can win California. Trump will win California. I'm positive. I tell you, he'd win every border state, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. Hell, I think even the only states he wouldn't win would be traditional blue states that aren't on the Mexican border. But you know what? His celebrity status might take a few blue states. Just the fact that he's a celebrity. It worked for Schwarzenegger. Look at Schwarzenegger here in California. Won 70% of the vote. 70. It's unheard of. The guy won 70. He's the most popular candidate ever, and he was a Republican. Well, whatever. But he ran as a Republican, and he kicked ass 10 years ago here because he's a celebrity. People love celebrities. That's just how America is. Trump has that. He can win. He's a rock star. People say, oh, he can't beat Hillary. And you know what? I say you're wrong. Because I already explained in a prior show that whoever wins the GOP, whoever's the Republican nominee, is going to win the president. Remember I explained that? Because Obama has very low ratings. And to win a third term, if a party wants to win a third term, they have to have extremely high ratings on the president. This president has low approval rating, and so that's it. The Republicans are going to win. That's the way it is every single time. Every single time you got a president who's done his 8 years, right? Done his 8 years, he's stepping down. Who's going to be next? It's just very simple. It's time to, the pendulum swings, and they'll bring in whoever the Republicans put. And the Republicans are going to win this presidency. And if you ask me, I'd love to see it be Trump. And I'm serious about Howard Stern. I want him as VP because he's perfect for that role. These are two huge celebrities with huge ratings. And you know what? It's the same audience. I'm convinced that Trump supporters are Stern's audience. Think about it. It's the same demographics. It's the angry white or Jewish males, right? People like me. It's just angry males, right? It's the male vote. It's angry white or Jewish males. And thank God someone is finally a voice for us. And that's why Stern's ratings were always inexplicably high. And no one could understand the appeal. Everybody, if you weren't into Howard Stern, you never understood it. You always had all these other people in show business and all these, what do you call them? People with opinions, all these, I don't know what you call them. People with opinions, all these critics, these pundits. You had these pundits, and these pundits were always like, I don't understand the appeal. Why do people like Howard Stern? He's a pervert. He's this filthy pervert. And, the FCC kept banning him because he was this pervert. And he was insultive and he was mean. But you know what? Angry males just ate him up. And he can do no wrong in our eyes. I love Howard Stern. And Trump dipped into that. And that's why Trump's polls numbers are so high. And that's why even non-Republican members, such as myself, I'm an independent, I love the guy. I think he's great. I'm not a member of any party. And even Democratic males, Democrats, I think are going to vote for this guy. I don't know how he's going to do with women, but males, he's going to get the male vote. That is for sure. He'll get the vote of the Christian conservatives. He's going to get that in the primaries. I see it all over the place on the internet. Big time Christians supporting Trump. I'm serious. These people are not Howard Stern's fan base at all. If you ever paid attention to Howard Stern's show, that the Christian right is not. The religious right is not Howard Stern's demographics, okay? But they coming out in force supporting Trump. I am shocked. Okay? I'm telling you right now. I'm also going to say that Trump doesn't exactly fit the Christian mold, but bless those evangelicals, they love Trump. I see it all over. They love him. So Trump is a party uniter, not a divider. He's uniting the party. He divides the candidates, but he unites the party voters. He will unite the Howard Stern crowd with the religious right. And that's a huge accomplishment. That's a huge undertaking. You're going to take two seemingly polar opposites, Howard Stern's group and the religious right, and merge them into one. And he's going to do it. And with both, he can win the GOP nomination, and he will. And if Trump can market the black vote properly, and like I mentioned before, and he can explain to African Americans that they lost their jobs to the illegals, Trump will win the presidency. I'm telling you right here now. Let me tell you about Los Angeles. 30 years ago. Okay, first let me set the scene. I live in West LA. Okay, I live in West LA. 30 years ago, there were so many black people working in my side of town. At the restaurants, the gas stations, you take your car in for repairs, you go into an office or a bank, there was a lot of black people working in the bank. You go to an office, the secretaries, some of the gardeners were black, the guy who comes and works in your house, the handyman, a lot of the maids, the nannies were black. There was black people all over my neighborhood who were working here. I don't see any black people here on the side of town anymore. Like, at all. They're gone. I'm going to say there were millions of jobs here. There's millions of people on the west side of LA. There were millions of jobs. They're gone. These people are gone. I don't see black people. I don't even know where they are anymore. I never see black people. And one day it dawned on me, ding, it's because they were all replaced with Hispanic people. And most of these people are here illegally. And now you go on the kosher restaurants, everybody working there is Hispanic. Most of them are illegal. You go, your mechanics are illegal. You know, are Hispanic. Your mechanics, your gas station people, everybody working. All of the nannies in all of the houses and all the maids in my neighborhood and all over the West Side, the gardeners, and everybody's Mexican or Hispanic or whatever, and most of them are here illegally. This is what happened, and they took all the jobs from the black people, and that's what I say. They stole our jobs. They stole our jobs. They stole our jobs, and who do they steal them from? Mostly black people. Black people were working these jobs, and they're not anymore. They're gone. I don't know what black people do for work anymore. I really don't know, because there was millions of jobs out here, and they're gone because the illegals took them all. And I know how this works, because I had a girlfriend who lived in the UK, and she wanted to come over here and be a nanny, right? But she couldn't get a job because everybody over here hires all the Mexicans illegally because they work for nothing. So she couldn't get a job. She couldn't come out here, and we couldn't date. Sylvia knows this story. And you just have to explain to them, you know, you got this high unemployment rate. I think African Americans have like the highest unemployment rate around in the country. You explain to them, you know why you're out of work? You're out of work because the illegals are working, they're taking your jobs. That's just it. And now you say you have a chance to do that because we're going to vote for a person who's going to round up all the illegals and get them the fuck out of here. We're going to build a wall 300 feet high, you know, and we'll put black people to work, and they can build the wall, and we're going to put black people to work. You're going to sell it. You got to sell it properly. And I'm telling you, he can get the black vote. Nobody in the GOP understands Trump's popularity. That is a fact. They make this and these guys make this monumental bozo dipshit move by fighting against him. I see it every day. Somebody starts pushing pot. Right before the show started, it was Rand Paul starts taking shots at Trump. He said that, you know, everybody's temporarily insane. I guess I'm temporarily insane because I want Trump, you know. And they make this mistake, and they see that whoever attacks Trump gets turned into roadkill because he's just like Howard Stern. And people would just keep picking on Howard Stern, and he would just get on the radio the next day and trash these people and just turn them into roadkill. And I'm like, don't ever pick a fight with Howard Stern because you're just going to get ripped to shreds on his radio program the next day, and millions of people are going to hear it all over the country. So don't do the same thing with Trump. He's just going to get on TV, and he's going to do it. He's going to rip you to shreds, and it's going to be picked up as a soundbite, and you're going to be shredded. Why would you want to enter that battle when you're going to lose it? And Trump owns all these people because he's given money to them all, right? So he's always going to say, like, oh, well, so-and-so, that guy, he begged me for money. That's like the first thing he's going to say is like, oh, that guy made fun of me? Well, you know what? That guy's a loser. He came to me for money. You know, he's going to win these personal wars every time. And they still do it. It's unbelievable to me. You know, and then when Trump trashes them, everybody's like, you can't do that. You can't trash these people. That we don't do that. You know, you can't win an election trashing people. You know, you trash people, nobody's gonna vote for you. Everybody's gonna leave you. Oh, Trump trashed somebody today. You expect to see his polls drop. And I'm like, what? He trashed John McCain, and everybody's like, blasphemy! You can't trash John McCain. You know, we expect to see you. You just ended your campaign. It just ended. Trump just ended his campaign today because he trashed John McCain. That's basically what the headlines were. Every single Republican was like, oh, he just trashed John McCain. His numbers are done. You know, I shouldn't say every single Republican. Every single Republican running for president, other than Trump, thought that was the end of Trump. They expected to see his numbers crash. No, didn't happen. You know why? Because the people who support Trump are people like me who think it's good that he trashed McCain because McCain deserved to get spanked. And I'm like, finally, somebody trashes John McCain because John McCain isn't God, okay? And everyone is so afraid to fight against John McCain when they go at him with baby gloves. He is tantamount to a big Hollywood producer, and everybody in Hollywood is afraid to trash. Like when Woody Allen got in all this trouble. Remember when Woody Allen got in trouble? Like it was the early '90s or something. Everybody was afraid to trash the guy because they didn't want to lose out on a chance to get a part. So nobody wanted to say anything in Hollywood about this guy. So Howard Stern didn't give a shit. So he just went after what's the guy's name? Woody Allen. He just went after him on his radio show because he doesn't care, you know. So it's the same thing with John McCain. Is like the Woody Allen of politics, because everybody's afraid to like go after this guy. They don't know he's a powerful guy, so they go at him, you know, with baby gloves. Well, Trump didn't pull any punches. Howard Stern never cared who you are. You know, you start trouble with him, you call his people crazy, bang, you're gonna get it. And Trump supporters are still with him today. Of course we are. And the rest of the GOP is like, why are they still with him? He said these things about John McCain. It's like he's blasphemy. He cursed God. How could you do that? You know? And it's the same reason that Howard Stern supporters stay with Stern. It's the same reason. We want him to do these things. And Trump even borrowed from Stern's playbook, and he had everyone crank call Lindsey Graham's cell phone. Anybody do that? That's hilarious. And it's just like something Howard Stern would have his fan base do. You know, and I'm just waiting for Trump to have us call into Anderson Cooper and get on the air and yell, Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey. All right, how am I doing? Is anybody still paying attention to the chat room? Is Quakes 33 still there? Oh, look at this. I still have a big crowd. I still have a couple people we don't know who they are. Sylvia's gone, but we have Haf Hayam still in there. Gypsy Roses, Malachi, Quakes, Rosalie. Ruben fizzled out on him, if I remember. All right, but we got a lot of different people. Still here. All right, people digging the show. Social stream, who's on it? Nobody. All right, keep going. I'm a huge fan of Howard Stern. I said that. I'm a huge fan of the guy. I love the guy to death. I mentioned last week that the biggest influence in my comedy career was Andy Kaufman. And I'd say that Howard Stern may be my number 2 comedy influence. Maybe you can tell some of it. Maybe it's probably not so much when I do solo shows, but when I was working with like Justin, when I worked with Justin, or you probably saw like a little bit of my Howard Sternness coming out. That influence is probably coming out. You know, that's why I was kind of like an asshole to him. But okay, so I have that influence. In fact, I got a story for you. I mentioned that I did sketch comedy at the Comedy Store, right? I wasn't just a stand-up traditional comic. I've never been a stand-up traditional comic because I don't do anything like I don't do anything that like fits into a box. Like if you watch my videos, even the ones on YouTube, I'm not traditional. I like walk around, I scream at the guy in the sound booth. I scream I just scream at the top of my lungs at people. I make fun of people in the first row. I mean, I'm not your typical just stand there and tell jokes. I never told a joke. I don't like telling jokes. I do different things. I dance. I'm shticky. You know, I do different things. I had a comedy coach. I had my first comedy coach. She was a Catholic Italian, and I had her for a very short time. And she was like, Rabbi, she goes, Rabbi. She was like, you do comedy and you're on stage, but you go to but you do it at stand-up comedy shows. She was like, you do it at stand-up comedy shows. It's like going to a ballet and an opera breaks out. I mean, it's great opera, but you went to a ballet, and we're not seeing ballet, we're seeing opera. And that's basically how she summarized me. People go to see stand-up comedy, they don't really get stand-up comedy when they see Rabbs, because I'm bringing like dance and yelling, and I'm not a traditional stand there and make jokes. What am I babbling about? I don't know. Anyways, so one of the things I did at the Comedy Store was I did sketch comedy, and the things I did were kind of bizarre. Let me just tell you. I'll describe this one. So one of the other comedians I worked with was a woman, and her name was Blue Iris. Now, some of you might be familiar with her. She was part of Howard Stern's Rat Pack. Do you know that he had a Rat Pack? Are you familiar with any of this? He had his crew in the studio, And that consisted of like Stuttering John and Baba Booey, and Robin and Jackie the Joke Man and somebody else. I don't even remember. And they were all in the studio. Then he had a second ring of people in the periphery for his radio shows, right? These were regulars who either flew into the studio from time to time or they called in on the phone. I mean, they might call in on the phone every day. Or they may do both. They might fly in or they're on the phone or whatever. So Blue Iris was one of those people. She did both. She called in and she actually they flew her to New York a few times. During the time I worked with her, she was like on planes at least like every few months. So who was Blue Iris? She was a porn star and she made a living doing fetish porn. And it was way out there in left field, the kind of porn that she did. She did a video, I think, where she banged 3 black midgets. I'm not sure because I ain't watching it to find out, okay? She was old and she did a lot of granny porn. And Howard Stern loved her, okay? And he had her on his show all the time. And she was a comedian too, okay? So she was at the Comedy Store. And so the Comedy Store, you need to understand the flavor of the Comedy Store. They love bizarre acts that are just different. That's why it was perfect for me. Rabbi Rabbs can thrive in a place like the Comedy Store because it's made for things that push the envelope. It's made for non-traditional, original, unique type of comedy, stuff that just you're not going to see anywhere else, right? So they put her and they put Blue Iris together with me, and we did a bit, an act in which she sang at the microphone on stage, and I danced, and they blasted the music. They blasted the music. So you couldn't even hear her singing because the music was so fucking loud, and she would try to sing on top of it, and then I was dancing on the stage. I mean, it was craziness, right? I mean, you got a porn star singing, and her voice was god-awful. She had the worst voice. She couldn't sing for shit, and you couldn't even hear her voice anyways because the music was blasting so loud. And then you have this, rabbi dancing next to her. So you got this porn star singing, the rabbi dancing. I mean, it's too funny, right? It's crazy shit. Okay, so we've performed together like that at least once a week for at least a year straight. It had to be a year straight because I've got photos of us doing it in the summer of 2004, and I know for a fact that we did a major show together in 2005 when we were still doing that act. So it had to be over a year. I'll say 2 years we probably did that every week. Anyway, she was on the Howard Stern show on the air, and she spoke about our act and how this Rabbi Rabbs, this real Hasidic rabbi, danced to her singing. And Stern, what do you think he did when he heard this? When she told the story, I was like, he's gonna hate this. He's gonna hate this. That was my first thing, because he's Jewish, doesn't really like religious Jews, so I just thought he's gonna hate this. But Stern busted up laughing. And he said, that's awesome. He said, it's awesome because he got me. He got me. He gets it. He understands funny. That's why this guy is an influence, because we're on the same level. We understand what's really fucking funny. He's not your typical Ashkenazi Jew. Howard Stern's an Ashkenazi Jew with 2 Ashkenazi parents. This guy should totally not get me. But he's not typical. He's not the typical Ashkenazi Jew. Just like I'm not. I'm a purebred Ashkenazi Jew, but I'm not like the rest of them, right? Because most double Ashkenazi Jews lack any sense of humor at all. I am serious. They grow up with 2 Ashkenazi parents, they have no sense of humor, right? The typical Jew gets offended by the thought, just by the mere thought of a real rabbi doing the shit that I do, and the shit that I did back then. You tell them that I was in a Goyish nightclub at the Comedy Store, right, with all these Goyim, and a woman that was up there singing, and she's a porn star who does granny porn, banging black midgets, right? And I'm like dancing, and she's singing. Most of them are going to be like offended just hearing that. They don't want to hear it. And again, Stern was never a big fan of religious Jews. I mean, if you listen to his shows, you read his book. But when he heard about me, boy, I'm telling you, he became an instant fan. So it's just mutual admiration there, folks. Yeah, I'm a Howard Stern fan. And that's probably a huge part of why I like Donald Trump. He pulls that, he attacks that same part. You know, it's the same, it's made from the same stock. All right, so, oh, look at this. Look at this. What's his name is out of the room. Quakes 33, gone. All right. So that's all I got. That's all I got. All right, so let's see what the chat room has to say. So we got 5 people still in the chat room. We got Hafayam is still there. Gypsy's in the room. Malachi's in the room. Rosalie's still in there, and somebody else, and everybody else is bailed. All right, let's take a look. I'll just read through this really quickly. Sylvia's gone. Yeah, somebody was, Gypsy was like, sound needs to go up. Huh. Rosalie says my sound needs to go up. I hope everybody can hear it. Gypsy was like, America's Most Wanted. Yeah, you know what? I have a little extra time. I plan to get this thing done in 2 hours, and I'm already at 9:30. So, and I have nothing left. So I could either just cut it and make it short, or I could actually talk that story. So maybe I'll tell the America's Most Wanted story. And Malachi wants to know, why do Catholics love Rabbi Rabbs so much? We'll get to that too. Okay, so then Ruben left. He said he had to leave because he had a terrible connection. Sylvia complained about commercials. Chaf Hayam says, I need a tan. I don't get a tan because I don't leave the apartment. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we covered Spade and Newer. Oh boy. You guys are making some jokes here. I'm not doing it. All right. Gypsy says, post the pics of you and her and of me, and I guess it's Blue Iris. I will. I'll do that next week for a Throwback Thursday. Next week, remind me. Next week, I'll post the pictures up of me and Blue Iris performing together. Chaf Hayam says only his father's Jewish. No. No. Howard Stern, this was like 20 years ago. I told a lie on the air. He said that like, oh, his mom's Italian. No. Mom is not Italian. It's bullshit. He's Jewish. He's double. Yeah, and his daughter's Jewish. I read about that too, that she became frum or something, right? She's like with NCSY or something. I don't know. Trust me, I've done this. Okay. Yeah, Howard Stern's 100% Jewish, because I remember 20 years ago I used to think that it was only his father, because I read private parts, and in private parts he talks about his father Jewish, blah blah blah. He never talks his mom being a Jew, like leaves that wide open. I'm like, well, what's the deal with his mom? And then he got on the air and he said that his mom was Italian, but that was a joke, and he lied. And later on, I don't know, the truth came out that he's not Italian at all. He's not Italian. He's not. And you look at the guy. I mean, you look at the guy. He looks like a total yid, right? I mean, he looks like Joey Ramone, who's a Jew. Okay, so that's the story on that. Okay, so what was I doing? Okay, so there's 2 things I'm going to follow up that the chat room wanted to hear about. One was why do Catholics love Rabbi Rabbs? And that's a question like I've asked for like 15, 20 years, like Catholics have like loved me. So, there's a lot of different things that I've theorized over the years as why Catholics love Rabbi Rabbs. And one idea is because a lot of them have a concept. A lot of them went to Catholic school. Let's start there. A lot of Catholics went to Catholics, or a lot of people brought up Catholic went to Catholic school. Okay, and it wasn't a pleasant experience for them because all the priests and all of the nuns or whoever they worked, dealt with, all of the clergy, or even if they didn't go to Catholic school, but they went to the church and they went to Sunday school or whatever the hell they did, right? They always had to deal with these authoritarian figures, these holier than thou. Because remember, Catholics put their priests on a pedestal, right? They put a priest on a pedestal. They're like holy people. Rabbis are not holy people, right? I talked about that before. Rabbis are not holy people. We're just people that know something and we're teaching it to you. But Catholics treat the priests like they're holy, right? They're like tzaddikim, right? They're righteous people. Okay, so they put these people on the pedestal, and then when they're there, like they have bad experiences because these people are stuffy. The average priest, I imagine, is stuffy, right? And they're just waiting. These people are just waiting for a clergy person to bust out and be funny and just let it all rip and cuss and scream and talk about sex and blowjobs and just like fucking be normal. Just somebody to fucking be normal. Like them. And I do that. I go up on stage and they're expecting, here's another fucking boring clergy person. And, even from the Jews, what do you get when you go on, like, looking for funny religious Jews? You get, like, some guy, dipping his beard in ketchup, like I said last time. And it's just like, oh, God, it's like lame, right? They're all, clergy are too stuffy. Whether they're rabbis, whether they're priests, are too stuffy. You don't have somebody who's just going to fucking lose it. Somebody who's just like completely outside the fucking box, right? And then along comes Rabbi Rabbs. He's completely outside the box. He's so far out of the fucking box, he and the box are not in the same time zone anymore. That's how far he is from the box. There is nothing about Rabbi Rabbs that's in a box, right? I am completely non-box. I'm the out of the box guy. There's nothing about me in the box, right? I come along and I just bust everything. And all these people who grew up Catholic are just waiting for someone like me to exist. And along I come. I'm like, I don't want to say it. I'm like the long-awaited messiah of comedy. I'm like, what? This guy is it. This guy is funny. He's just a regular guy who happens to be a rabbi. And that's how I see myself. I am not some special holy person, right? I'm not some tzaddik, right? I'm not. I'm just a regular guy, right? I'm a regular guy, happens to be a Jew. I'm a regular Jewish guy that happens to be a rabbi. What's the big deal? So I went to yeshiva for 10 years. I learned a bunch of Torah, right? And now I'm teaching it. If you want to hear it, I'll teach it to you. I don't care. I really don't care. You don't want to listen to me? Fine, I'll do something else. You guys want the shows more than I do. Everybody's like, do more shows. Okay, here I am. Right? I don't get off on myself. It's like, I got other things to do. I could be watching the Angels tonight. I still don't know if they won. Don't tell me. What am I talking about? Because, right? So that's what I think it is. I think that's a big part of it. It's just like people who grow up Catholic, right? Grew up with a very intense, they had a lot of stuffy, they grew up with a very religious whatever, and they're just waiting for someone to bust out. Now you could say, well, then why aren't like the religious Jews into you? And that's a completely different thing, because you would think they also would want someone like me to bust out and be different than all the rabbis that they grew up with. But the Ashkenazi Jews who make up 80% of Jewhood, they don't get me at all because they have no sense of humor. Because Catholics have a sense of humor. People who grew up Catholic have a sense of humor. They've got funny genes. They've got funny in their DNA. The average Catholic, the average person who walks down the street, grew up what Catholic culture, Catholic mores, Catholic values is way more funny than the average Jew walking down the street. That is the way I've come to conclude. The average person walking down the street with a Catholic upbringing of some sort, or those kind of culture, is funnier than the average Jew walking down the street. However, there are special Jews, and for some bizarre reason, God gave to us, a gift of the funny. And when we get the funny, we blow away the Catholics. And that's why my all-time favorite, biggest influences, the people who I consider the funniest people ever, were Jews. Andy Kaufman, Howard Stern, the Three Stooges, right? These people are visionaries. These are people like changed comedy. It's like they're the leaders in what they do. And, they're Jews. The late night guys, the guys doing like late night comedy are always Catholics. Jimmy Kimmel, Jay Leno. These people are always, Conan O'Brien. Those people are always Catholic, right? There's great comedians who are Catholic. I'm not saying that they're not, but the guys who are at the top, the best ones ever, there's a very small one. The elite are the Jews. That's a fact. That's just the way I see it. And it's not surprising that Rabbi Rabbs is held by many people to be in that elite group, because I'm like, look at me. When it comes to clergy, come on, I'm the guy. I'm the guy that broke all the barriers for clergy funny. For funny clergymen, I'm the guy. So that's why Catholics, I think, inherently love me, because I represent everything that they've always been dying for. All their life, they're just waiting for one fucking clergy person they can relate to. One person who speaks their language, who's not afraid to say, I want a fucking blowjob. They're just dying for some clergy guy just to let it out and say that. So I think that's a big part of it, because you can make a thing. You can say, well, they relate to Jews because Catholics were persecuted and Jews were persecuted, and Catholics have huge families and Jews have huge families, and we both grew up different in America. We went to our own separate schools, and and we never fit in, we never blended with the Goyim, with the Protestants, and you can say all those things and stuff, and maybe there's some of that too, But I just think the biggest reason, this is what I think, is just religious people who grew up with religious culture waiting for someone like me to bust out. And then the question is, it's not that the Catholics love me, it's why don't the religious Jews love me? Because they should also be dying for this. But they don't get it. They don't get it because they don't have the sense of humor that Catholics have. Catholics have a tremendous sense of humor. They have people who grew up with Catholic culture have a tremendous sense of humor, and it's so much fun to perform to them because they just laugh and they get things. Especially they love me, and it's just so much fun to play to them. That's why I said last time, I really want to play like a church or something. You're Catholic, you have a church, get them to book me, I'll play them. All right? Okay, so that's why I think Catholics love me. All right, next question was America's Most Wanted. So what was the story on that? So America's Most Wanted, this was crazy. There was a guy who played at the Comedy Store like all the time, and he was wanted by the law. He went on the lam. They were looking for him, and he was Splitsville, and nobody knew where he went. So he was on the lam. He was a fugitive from the law, and the FBI wanted to know, where is this guy? And it happened to be that those who had worked with him, and I was in a show with him like once a week, and I even talked with him on the phone somewhat frequently, making arrangements like for rehearsals and ideas that we should do and stuff like that, and blah blah blah. And my phone and his phone had talked to each other. So the FBI is like subpoenaing, phone records and stuff, and they see that he and I have been on the phone together. So anybody who at the Comedy Store, anybody who's ever talked to him on the phone, and especially right before he skipped, the FBI wanted to have a nice conversation with, because they wanted to know, where is this guy? That's all they really wanted to know. Where is this guy? Surely he called you on the phone. Did he tell you where he was going? So whatever. I mean, I didn't know where the guy went. I knew nothing. So I mean, they had no interest in me. But when they showed the stupid America's Most Wanted show, which the FBI runs, that's a propaganda machine for the FBI. The America's Most Wanted is the FBI has its own half hour on TV on Fox once a week or whatever. It's an hour show or whatever. It's the FBI's own show. And how do I know this? I'll get to that in a second. I didn't know I was going to be on it. So I didn't know any of this, right? So the America's Most Wanted want to track this guy down. The FBI. So they got him on. They got America, and they showed pictures of this guy at the Comedy Store, and they showed like a bunch of different comedians at the Comedy Store, and all of a sudden my phone's ringing off the hook one night. I'm just here doing whatever, standing around naked, doing my normal life, and my phone is ringing like off the hook, and like everybody I know, and like I go online and everybody's emailing me, everybody like is calling me, and they're like, what's going on? I go, we just saw you on America's Most. First of all, I didn't know that anybody ever even watches this show. You'd be surprised how many people watch America's Most Wanted, because when I was on it, I was getting bombarded by strangers that like I didn't even know. Like I was like crazy how many people saw me that night. And because they showed like in the background, they're just like showing B-roll, what they call they're just showing like clips of the Comedy Store and people like who knew him or whatever, and like I was one of the many comedians that was shown at the Comedy Store. And nobody even told me I was going to be on the air. So I'm like, I never saw it. This is the truth. I never saw it. So I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? So the next day I looked up America's Most Wanted. I Googled it or whatever. And it's in Washington, D.C., and it's the FBI's office or something. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You don't write to like some studio. Like normally, like you want to see something like, it's on Fox. So you'd write to Fox Studios. You'd write to the offices of Fox and say, could you please send me a tape? I was on your show. And they send you a tape. And like, that's what they did with, Bonsai or whatever. They just send them to you. They don't care, because they're like, oh, you're that guy? All right, we'll send it to you. Right? I go, hey, look, I was on America's Most Wanted last night. Like, send me a tape. And they're like, they've never given me a fucking tape. That's the only show I think that I was on that I tried to get a tape of that ignored me, because it's the FBI. It's the government. It's not like working with Fox or ABC or something. This was the government, and they wouldn't say. I don't even have a clip. I don't even know. So everything I'm telling you is based on what people told me, because I have never seen it. All right, so that's the story on America's. Oh, let me just finish the story. They found the guy. They found the guy. I don't know if it was through having it on America's Most Wanted or not, but they found the guy, and they arrested him, and they took him to trial, and he won the trial. They should have cleared his name. This pisses me off. They trashed his name. They smeared his name. The FBI smeared his name on national TV, did a whole episode about the guy, right? And made him out to be like this criminal and everything. And it was character assassination, because they like convicted him on TV, but we haven't heard his side of the trial. They're saying, oh, you gotta look for this guy because he did X, Y, and Z, right? And then he went to court and he won his case, and he was completely exonerated. I mean, he didn't do anything. He's completely innocent, but he had to go to jail, and he couldn't get bail because they considered him a fugitive. So he had to do time in jail waiting for his trial to come up. And he was an innocent man the whole time. Now you're going to ask, well, if he was innocent, then why did he run? Okay, you're going to have to ask him that question. You're going to have to ask him that question. He didn't want to be in jail. And he felt like they were going to arrest him and put him in jail. He didn't want to be in jail. He ended up going to jail anyway. So running from the law doesn't pay. But they should have cleared his name. They should have done an episode and said, you know what, this guy was innocent and he was exonerated, and we have in a system of justice in America, and if you're found by a jury of your peers to be not guilty, then we have to treat you like you were innocent, right? And this guy's good name should have been restored. And they should have done an episode restoring this guy's good name, but they never did. And then he came back to the Comedy Store. He came back to the Comedy Store, and we started performing with him again. I think, you know what? I guess there was another time he left, and he came back. You want to know something? I can't even remember anymore. I can't remember. So that's the story on that. I can't remember anymore. I don't want to say the wrong thing because I just can't remember. Because he kept leaving and coming back, and I don't remember if he came back after that or I don't know. All right, did I bore everybody with that story? Oh, so Gypsy Rose already left the room, so she's gone. So all right, well. You're watching on the replay, so thanks a lot. Oh, and the Vishnu's in the room. So hey, a long time since the Vishnu was in the room. So big shout out to you. And all right, so that's tonight's show. Remember to hit my PayPal. You can't just dial in and hear all this trash. You have to pay for it. You dial it. You watch my YouTube. You hear all this screaming and commotion. You have like this guy yelling all these racist rants. You have to pay for that. You have to pay for that because where else are you going to hear it, right? At least you don't have to pay for a 2-drink minimum. I should charge you a 2-drink minimum. Every single one of you who are watching this tonight should be paying for a 2-drink minimum and a cover charge, right? So if you go to like the Comedy Store, you would have to pay, I don't know, what do they charge these days? Like $25 and then drinks are like $10. You'd spend $50 if you go. So everybody should send me $50. Send me $50 right now. Do it. Get on my PayPal and send me $50. You can afford it. You can do it. Do it. All right, and that's tonight's shows, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, we got under 2 hours. You know what I think I'm going to do though? I got still more stuff I want to tackle. So maybe next week we'll do another show. I know Quakes33 wants me to do a show, but then when I do a show, the guy jumps out of the room, so I don't know. Okay, so that's the story on that. So I think maybe next week I'll try for another show, okay, because I know there's interest. And until then, I say, have a good Shabbos, everybody who's Jewish, tomorrow, and hopefully we'll see you next week. And thank you for staying to the end. Who's in the room? I'll give them a shout out one more time. Chafayam, all right, Malachi, Rosalie, and 2 other people who I don't know who they are because they're using Ustreamer. Great show so far, Rabbi Rabbs, says Chafayam. All right, if everybody else liked the show, Malachi said my shows lately have been the best, some of the best I've ever done. Some of the best I've ever done. Clap, clap, clap. Good Shabbos. Okay, so there's a little bit of a delay. There's a little bit of a delay between the time that I talk and the time that everybody hears it live, so that's why the chat room is a little bit behind me. Okay, I'm just stalling here. All right. So that's it. I'm just stalling here waiting for the chat room to catch up to me. I'm a little surprised that I was able to get everything in so fast. I thought for sure this was going to go over 2 hours tonight. I really did. I'm glad that it didn't. I want to have a little time here at the end just to chit chat. All right, so that's it. We're done. All right, so thank you everybody, and we'll try to see you again next week. All right, so I'm gonna hit the stop record, and then I'm gonna save this, and then I'll hit the stop the broadcast. All right. Time for a smoke. That sounds like a good idea. All right, that's it.